Anyway, I'm going to skip my intro because we're going to be talking about something a little bit special today. Um, I tried different things today and they did not quite work out. But I'm going to tell you what is going to. Oh, look, his second name. His second name is actually a name I know very well. All right, I am actually very fond of the name William. But just know that it is a royal name, and just treat it like it is. All right. Anyway, um, Baron Trump. Who is this person? Who is this individual? Born March 20th, 2006. That was 26 years ago? 20 years ago. Wow. Baron Trump is 20 years. Guys, I just, between you and I, do you know anything about Baron Trump? I mean, unless you are somebody who's into the Trumps, who goes after their life, who wants to know more about them, you're probably not going to hear very much about it because the media does not go on and on and on about Barron. It goes on and on and on about Trump because Trump is a character, like in The Simpsons, and he's just nobody can deny that Donald Trump is a kind of character that you could put in a sitcom and it'll make it famous, and I'm not trying to, engranding him or anything like that. I'm very curious about Barron, and the reason that I am is that I seldom. Okay, wait. Well, I seldom get interested in knowing things about people who are famous for any reason. Why? Because I don't do that. I'm not like that. But I mean, I used to have certain fandoms, but I wasn't big on fandoms. I'd have one or two, and that would be it. Like I was big fan of the Barrio Boys, for example, and a really big fan of Manny Manuel, and that was it. Everything else was just like, man. My friends were into like a whole bunch of things, New Kids on the Block, and a whole bunch of different kinds of things. I was like Disney and Disney and Disney, you know, and that was mostly it. Um, Give me a minute. I feel like oh, I feel like the FBI is watching me or something. Baron Trump is one of the people that you probably, if you know him in real life, it's going to take you by surprise, right? Um, if I asked you one thing about this man, one thing about this boy, young man, now, what would you say? I'd probably say quiet, introverted, um, mysterious, very different from Trump himself, from his brother, from both of his brothers, uh, but not so different from Melania, right? Because Melania is also sort of an enigmatic character. You don't really know what she's thinking any day, you know. So, well, like I said, I'm not a fan of the Trumps. I just know them. I know them by many reasons, and one of them is obviously that he is the president of the United States of America. That's it. But okay, so let's talk about Barron a little bit. Let's get to know him. You know, if Barron were here right now, would he be smiling at us or would he be frowning at us like, who in the world are you? Why are you asking questions about me? Well, to start with, we're not asking questions for bad reasons. We're asking questions to know, and knowledge is power. All right. Do you want to know how big it is? You know, in my perspective, I didn't used to like Donald Trump. I used to speak badly about him. I used to mock him. But then God told me, be careful how you speak about him because he is my anointed. I chose him. And because God told me that, I said, wait, I got to change the way I talk about this man. So that's what I did. So when we learn more about people, we become, you know, we become the person that God wants us to be, period. Now, I've had dreams and visions about, well, I've had visions about Barron Trump and dreams about Trump's family. Trump's family that nobody knows, okay? I don't know who these people are, but they were very serious dreams. And because I had those dreams, I I guess I'm a little interested in knowing a little bit more about Barron Trump. And the reason is that I wouldn't want to make a mistake speaking about him at any point because the things that I saw had him in a position of danger where he was in danger, you know, uh, where people were trying to manipulate his upbringing so that he could be a certain kind of person. Somebody who would not love God. Let's put it that way. All right. So I don't know if any of that is true. Um, so let's read a little bit about who he is. So Baron William Trump. Uh, William is a very special name actually. Baron. Let's take it by William first. William meaning I don't know what the meaning of William is, but it must be very very important. It's actually a Germanic name. Germanic. Fun. Hold on. No, no, no. Save. Good. And it's a Germanic name meaning Willem or Wilhelm, which which speaks about a helmet. Will helmet. Will wear a helmet, you know, or I want a helmet or wearing a helmet. That's what William means. So it's funny. I just realized something about a movie, but I can't talk about it. Anyway, that's funny. Um, so that's what it means. So it's composed of the elements willow, will desire, and helm, helmet protection. And it says here in behind the name, an early saint by this name was the 8th century William of Gellon, a cousin of Charlemagne, who became a monk. And it says that the name was very common among the Normans, and it became very popular in England after William the Conqueror, who was recognized as the first Norman king of England in the 11th century. Uh, so I didn't know. I didn't know. I mean, I'd heard of William the Conqueror, but I did not know what the name William meant. Uh, all right. What are some diminutives of William? Bill, Billy, Billy, Will, Willie, Willa for girl. In other languages and cultures, the name William uh, is a Gwiller, Gillum, Willem, Vilko, Wilhelm. Ooh, I like that one. Uh, Wilhelm. Oh, I wouldn't have thought. It makes sense. It makes sense now. Um, Wim. That's weird. Um, Guillermo, like Guillermo. Hmm, funny. uh, William Oleg in Irish. Um, Wilhelm in Slovene. Uh, so all these names. um, Pretty cool, huh? Kind of reminds me of Guinevere, right? And I wonder if I know Guinevere probably also has some sort of root like this one too. So one of my favorite Williams is William Shakespeare. Ah, some other people, might say, "Oh, William Tell," you know, and yet other people might say William Butler Yeats, or William Faulkner, right? William Esborough. All writers, all authors. Okay, cool. I don't know any of them, and I haven't read most of the things. I've read a lot of Shakespeare. That's all. Okay. Anyway, here we go. Let's go back to Baron because that's what we were looking at. All right. Now he was born March 20th, 2006, so he's 20 years old this year, and he was born in New York City. Uh, he is Donald Trump's fifth child and Melania's first child. And he was baptized at Bethesda by the Sea Episcopal Church in Palm Beach. Cool. All right. Bethesda by the Sea Episcopal Church. Kind of cool name. All right. So he grew up in Trump Tower. Who who can imagine that kind of thing, growing up at a hotel, reportedly having an entire floor to himself. What? I remember seeing this video of him actually when he was a little boy, and he was very, very different from who he is now. And this is where the enigma part comes in, because I have questions about why he's such a serious boy when he was a child. He was very active, very smiley, very different. And I wonder if there was any trauma in his life that he might have been through, um, that caused him to become this serious boy who doesn't really talk very much, um, who has dreams apparently, or at the very least aspirations, and who has questions about, or who has been led to speak to people about God. And I guess that means that he's not a Christian. Let's learn a little more about these things. Okay, so Melania was described as his primary parent, prioritizing his privacy and upbringing. And as a child, he often wore suits. It was jokingly called Little Donald by Melania. Okay, well, maybe that's truer, because as a boy, like that video that I saw, I could relate that he was a lot more like Donald Trump then. And actually, there are two times where I have seen Donald Trump look more human and less, how do I explain this? More normal, like everybody else. And those two times have been when I saw him in that video with his son, and the second one was when I heard him speaking about Jesus the first time. Okay, yeah, these are all things that are, if you if you seek, you shall find. Okay, so early schooling. He attended Columbia Grammar and Prep School in Manhattan. He is German, Scottish, and Slovene. Whoa, German, Scottish, and Slovene. So that definitely explains a little bit why he'd be a little serious, but the Scots are very funny. I don't know about Germans, but definitely Scots. All right. White House years, 2017 to 2021. That's all you know about him? Wow. This comprises 2006 to 2016. So there is, and I asked the Juice Lab to give me everything that he could find on Barron Trump, and that was it. That is all of it. Early life, 2016 years of absolutely nothing. Sorry, guys. That's it. That's all we get to know. All right. So the White House years, 2017 to 2021. Um, no, 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 no. I have absolutely no idea why the name, the China or Japan, or it's like China or Japan is in front of me, and I don't know why. I don't understand why. Anyway, no, I don't. I don't have anything to do with the devil, and hopefully Baron Trump doesn't either, because things that I saw about people who wanted to shape him in a certain way, that's what they wanted to do to him. Anyway, let's continue here. So when Donald Trump won the 2016 election, Barron and Melania, uh, hmm, hold on. They stayed in New York for 6 months. Um, they wanted him to finish school. I guess he was. I don't want you to talk to me. You're not allowed, any of you. I have no idea how or why this happened, but it's not. No. The first time I ever wrote a story with the name Baron was actually back in 2018. I had never considered the name Baron in my life until that year. I'm not joking. There are some names you just go to um, because they make sense, but Baron, what a weird name. And I'm going to tell you what the story was too. In the story, there was this detective, and this was like a fantasy world where humans and certain kinds of creatures who were like animals. They were, they lived together and they worked together. And this woman detective, I forgot her name. um, she was in a church, a church that had been destroyed by this group called the uh, man. It has something to do with the Crusaders, something like that. um, and these were criminals. They were people who were trying to bring the Inquisition back, but to kill. So they got rid of, like, at Easter they did like an Easter massacre. And during Christmas they did another type of massacre, things like that. And they were very symbolic massacres, right? And this detective was at the church, at the chapel that was destroyed, looking at a body that had been hung on a cross at the church, something like that. And no, this was about children. That's what it was. There were flowers. The perpetrators have put flowers like lilies all around the altar, and there was a message written in blood, and there was some sort of body on the cross, something like that. And the message was written in blood, and it said, "Nowhere here but outside." And I remember that was a phrase that came to me. Sometimes that happens to authors. Things just come to us. Um, but the funny thing about being a writer or an artist is that You don't really know why you get some ideas sometimes, like names, for example. William is a beautiful name, but I've never really thought of using it in a story because it's special to me. It's very special. So I've never used it, but I've used names. Uh, I've used very strange names like Lillian, you know, and they were just names that came up for specific purposes. And the guy, it was a guy. His name was Lillian, um, and I had never thought of about that name before either. But that on that day, this guy, his name was Lillian, and he was gay, and I used that name. And it was a very secular story concerning uh, a very strange path that someone took, where he his sister was marrying someone, and he ended up taking that her husband, something like that, and he ended up marrying him. Something it was something like that. Anyway, so then they moved to Washington, D.C., right, in 2016 or around there. And then he went to St. Andrews. Uh, oh, that's funny. We have something in common. Episcopal, well, we have two things in common now. Well, three. St. Andrews Episcopal School in Maryland, becoming the first presidential child to attend that institution. Okay. So you can say that they were Episcopalian, the Trumps. Okay, that's cool. So Episcopalian is closer to the Catholic Church, isn't it? But it's not Catholic. All right. So becoming all right. So then Barron remained largely apolitical, and out of the spotlight. And then he appeared at major events such as the 2017 inauguration. Yeah, I don't want to talk to you and I don't want you here. I don't know what you're doing, but no. No. Uh, so this boy developed a strong interest in soccer. I'm going to tell you something. I'm not going to tell you. He was interested in soccer, and he became a midfielder at United Academy in DC. Cool. I don't know what that is, but sounds sounds expensive. Um, Donald Trump publicly praised his ability in height. Height. Oh yeah, he's very tall. Tall like mom, I guess. All right, post White House, years 2021 to 2024. So after the presidency, he moved with his family to Florida and attended Oxbridge Academy in West Palm, and graduated 2024. Wow, it's really been that long. Um, in 2024, he was invited. No light. You don't know what a light is. I hear you, and you don't sound like you know what a light is. All right, so he was invited to serve at an at-large delegate for Florida as an at-large delegate for Florida. At large? What does that mean? At the Republican National Convention, but declined. He said no. And then it says that here that his advice reportedly helped increase young male Republican voter engagement, especially through online influencers and podcasters. Okay, okay. Um, that's fun. Let me say this again. Young male Republican voter engagement. his advice, especially through online influencers and podcasters. Huh. I wonder if we can find something like that online and hear him speaking. In July 2024, Barron co founded a real estate company, like his dad, but it dissolved, real estate hotels, but it dissolved after Donald Trump was reelected. Oh, I wonder why that happened. And then he enrolled at NYU, September 2024. He studied at the Stern School of Business and then transferred to Washington, D.C. Campus for his sophomore year. So now he's been living at the White House during the second term. And it says here that sources describe him as ambitious with a growing interest in business. No. Private, avoiding political spotlight despite family prom. Okay, no. He's tall and athletic. Uh, apparently, a lot of soccer talent. He's not a sweatpants child, Melania has emphasized. He's always dressed formally, even as a kid. Well, hopefully, he won't have to wear a toupee. Ah, it's okay, Baron. You don't need to. I like first names. Here at Amana said we're very first name. So I'm going to call you Baron. That's okay. I won't call you William, but I'll call you Baron. Um, yeah, he remains largely his life is largely private. Says that he is considered smart, focused, and resourceful. Okay, those are see. If you look at him at an event, you don't really get that about him at all because he's never speaking. He never says anything. Now, we've already heard everything that we can um, about Donald Trump's son, little Donald. Now, what I would like to do because I'm nosy. Uh, I'm the good kind of nosy though, because the difference between my kind of nosy and the kind of nosy that's like, the people who I saw in those visions trying to hurt this kid, trying to change him and mold him into a demonic beast. I'm not that person. I'm the kind of person who wants to get to know people so that I can understand who they are, so that so that we can work out in the world. Now, why of all people I would have visions of this boy is unbeknownst to me. But let's go here and Sunopro. No, I do not want to make those. Let's make here Baron Trump talking. Let's see. Let's see if we can hear him talking. Oh, all right. Iran offers 10 million bounty. What? On Baron Trump? I'm sorry, guys. I didn't know this. I just saw this. I guess I guess Baron Trump and I have some sort of connection, huh? Because I did not know that, and I just found out. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, definitely. Who can spend $10 million after killing the the son of the president of the United States of America? Who? If you kill this boy, where are you gonna go with $10 million? You can't. You're not gonna be able to get out the door. Oh, this is actually old news. China, huh? No. Oh, wow. Guys, this is serious. Wow. Now I went online to look up information about what other presidents' children have been threatened with some in the same way. And what I found is that this is actually news from 2 days ago. I don't watch the news really. I don't. I'm I'm not that person. I spend most of my day either writing or thinking about writing or I'm a very passive person. But wow, what a shock. Okay. Well, I'm happy to know that he's okay. I'm happy to know that nothing's happened to him. I'm sure that he's being taken care of, and that he's that they have him in a place where it's safe. But I think this it's safe for me to well, I think it's time for me to restate the obvious. Um, we are we're at a very sensitive time, and the fact that something like this is going on, I've never heard of a president's son being threatened like that. Uh, Let me ask the Juice Lab because um, says that there have been others like who have had. Uh, it says here that this video is from the Iranian state media, an explicit assassination style video. Did they air it? I don't even know if I want to see. Let me go on my instinct to not watch it. Um, sometimes curiosity kills the cat. You know what I mean? um, Says it includes a 10 million bounty and instructions on where to end this boy's life. And Secret Service confirmed that they are investigating it. We're headed towards a really big war, guys. Uh, this is probably the beginning of World War III. When I saw when Ukraine was hit, God told me something really important, and I said, "This is probably the start of the biggest war we've ever seen." And then when Donald Trump started hitting these other countries, Venezuela, and helping other countries like that, all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I just turned on the TV and somebody's in trouble in another, and just like like some sort of superhero, he decided to uh, to help them. And I don't know how that's a part of his agenda as a president, or how he's being assessed on whether to help or not help. I'm not sure what presidents do. Okay. Um, um, First foreign president. Okay, so this is not the first time that other presidential children have faced threats, but it is the first time that a foreign government's media has publicly targeted a U.S. president's child with a bounty. Uh, and this is the first time they've done it. Now, other presidential children who have faced threats, uh, the Clintons, the Obamas, the children, I mean, Carter's, the Bush twins. Uh, it says here that why why is this important? I think that you should be looking at that specifically. Obviously, they know more than me, but why are they, out of all the things that they can say, why are they saying where? And then it says it's got stylized graphics showing where I have a feeling this is prophetic. And he's the first, historically, he's the first presidential child to be threatened like this, which doesn't mean that he's going to die, that anyone's going to kill him. If he stays in a place that's well protected, you know, if Secret Service do their job, if the Army does their job, if National Guard does their job, I mean, I don't see why not. But if Barron Trump wanted my advice, this is a good time to read the Bible and try to learn who God is. I'm not saying it as a joke. I'm not saying, because your soul is not saved. I mean, it goes to motive, but I mean so that you can learn what God's protection is like for yourself. I'm shocked, guys. Like for real, uh, I know a lot of things about politicians. I'm not a political person. I don't have many personal opinions anymore, except for the ones that come from what God has told me. The things that I know about certain politicians and the way that I have to treat them because God has said something specific about them, it's very different. Now, Donald Trump has, uh, in some form, uh, he has surprised me. The way that I heard him talk about Jesus, I remember. I used to call him the foghorn leghorn of politics because every time he opens his mouth, he's talking and talking and talking like he knows what he's talking about war and politics and things. But in my perspective, he sounds like foghorn leghorn. Do you guys know who he is? He was a Looney Tunes character. He was this rooster, and he's always like, "Bleh, bleh, bleh." It's like he has a lisp or something. Like he doesn't even know he doesn't even know what he's saying. and and I've stopped saying that about him. And like I said, I know a lot of things. Sometimes you know bad things about a person that other people might not believe about them. No. And you know, it's sad when children are in the way of all of that. Um, it's horrible when children are targeted in the middle of a war. But one of the things that I've seen, unfortunately, in the last 7 years, since I became a victim of terrorism myself, is that um, this tar- the targeting against children is very great um, for the next war. It's happening right now. I've tried to tell many people many things. FBI. I've even given them prophecy. Not about Barron Trump, but I've said a lot of things about Donald Trump. I've said things about Obama. I've said things about Trudeau, Putin. You can only either believe or not believe what people who have messages from God say. But the most important one that God gave was basically to read the Bible over and to start doing things the way that God said so that we could be saved. So if somebody can help Baron become enlightened, or let me not use the word enlightened, if somebody can encourage at this time Baron to learn the Bible, to read it like a history book, like I did, and to learn the love that is behind it. I promise you, if you can believe, He will protect you. And if your life were to end like Charlie Kirk's, I can promise you that you will see. You will see, well, you will know the truth. But you would have to be repentant of all your sins. I don't know if you've already been baptized, you can baptize again. See, you'd be surprised how very, you'd be surprised how very simple it is to be baptized. You don't have to go to a mikvah, in a synagogue that's like very elaborate. You don't have to go to a river like the Jordan. I can't keep talking, but well, I hope do a good job, Secret Service. And in the meantime, please follow follow some of our advice. This is unfortunately, um, there are things that have been told that are happening, and I don't see that there's any movement in the government trying to deal with that. And anyway, wow, I did not think, what a thing to, anyway. I'm going to close this here. Oh, I didn't finish saying the story about how the name Baron came to my life in writing. Um, well, in this story that I was writing, uh, the detective had a sidekick, and the sidekick was this bull, uh, like a humanoid, um, and he was like you know, a softer character, um, like, well, sidekick, very large horns, uh, and as I tell you about it, I got to tell you something else. It's prophetic, so hold on. The bull has been associated with politics of the times as something satanic. But this bull, who was the detective's sidekick, was not evil. And he still doesn't feel evil. Like, as soon as I said, oh, he was a bull, and I kind of like connected that 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 information, was like, uh-oh, maybe this is a bad thing. But it still doesn't feel like that bull was a bad guy. Um, it feels just like he was a bull. Um, and I have seen, some very interesting bull-looking animals who are not, you know, there are a lot of things out there. I just, welcome to the jungle. Um, anyway, this is shocking news. Uh, it's difficult to talk about it right now. I could say I could say many things, but I can't right now. Um, but I pray that the Secret Service will be able to create a very safe environment for this child and to keep him safe. Yeah. Anyway, um, I'm going to stop this video now and well, we will talk later. Shut.